or something? Okay. Does that work? Sweet. Okay. How you guys doing? Good, good. I want to thank all the other presenters. I'm Kevin English. You guys did a great job. I think those were better presentations than this one. So I'm going to talk about Backbone.StickIt. This is a plugin for Backbone that's developed by New York Times. So when you read the news, you're looking at Backbone.StickIt. A little bit about me. I'm Kevin English. You can follow me on Twitter, Kinglish. And my company is Monk Seal Software, and I do Ruby on Rails and JavaScript, CoffeeScript. I've been doing Backbone stuff for about 2 years. So how many people here use Backbone? Just out of curiosity. Wow, a lot of people. Wait, I don't think you do Ember. But okay, all right, you're claiming some Backbone. So if you don't do Backbone and you're kind of like wondering where does Backbone fit in to all of this, my answer to that is it fits in for legacy JavaScript apps. That I feel like that's the best spot for Backbone that in my experience, like I'm working on an app that's pretty old and it was just a lot of jQuery spaghetti code, and we've brought in all this structure by using Backbone. So, and you can get a lot of wins out of that. And I've developed my sacred laws of Backbone, and these are very sacred. The first one I always tell people is store all of your state in the models. People that come from jQuery like to jam things into the DOM and state and values and keep those in there. But Backbone gives you this model, so it's really nice to have your state in one place. And I also encourage people to follow the conventions and best practices of Backbone by use the models, and they have collections. So don't put a jQuery get inside a view, or don't do things inside of your views that you might have done within a jQuery function. Actually use the different pieces of Backbone. And I also encourage people to write unit tests, and I use Jasmine to do that. So now about Backbone.StickIt. What does Backbone.StickIt do? It does basically two-way binding. So this is what Angular has. This is what Ember.js has. So Backbone.StickIt takes care of a two-way binding between your model and your view. And what does it look like in your Backbone code? Here's an example of a super simple model I create, and then here's a view that I'm creating, and it takes this bindings hash in the top, or wherever you want to put it, and you would say the DOM element, and then you would say the attribute on the model. And then in the initialize function, you would just call stickIt, and it's going to bind do two-way binding between your model and your view. So it's totally simple. And I have a super simple demo because I just wanted to write some code. Let's see if this goes up here. No. I don't know if this is going to fit in here, is it? Okay. Maybe if I mirror the displays. Hang on a sec. Okay. Wow. Okay, so this is, yeah, you were right, this screen is super small. Was not expecting this. So this is, I basically created a little form here, and that's not looking good either. Excuse me. Okay. So what I have is I made a little form where I would bind to a model, and I have these elements. And then this one is actually a computed field, so I'll show you how they would do computed fields in so here's the bindings hash that I set up here. You see I have first name, last name. For some of the inputs, it's a little tricky, like doing checkboxes and radio buttons. But here's a computed field. It basically says, I'm going to observe these fields on the model, and then I'm going to output first name, last name, and it's all compacted together. So that's how I get this computed field here. So it kind of, I don't know if this is what Ember looks like, but it kind of follows that pattern. And then I had just had another one where Wow, I cannot see this at all. Oh, I can see it there if I look at that. Where I actually move this to a sidebar, and then in the sidebar, or in the main setup here, I was like passing the same model. So I pass the same, I create the model first, and then I pass that person model into the form view, and I pass it into the sidebar view. And then all I did was move that logic to the sidebar view. Oops, I did not mean to do that. So now I have the logic in the sidebar view. So basically all, like I said in my sacred law, all the state is in the model now. So if we check out the app as it is, I'm going to refresh this here. You can't see the sidebar that well. Well, the sidebar actually ended up here. I guess that's the responsive layout for you. So the computed field is now in a separate view. So that's just an example of how you can basically have all of your state in the model and then use this binding hash to kind of like push out all of your data to the view and like what you want it to look like and stuff. So let me go back to my oversimplified demo. They have a bunch of other stuff that you can do there. They have like an add binding, so you can dynamically add bindings. Like if you add elements to the page, you can also bind to like another model in the same view, which I don't always recommend doing. I kind of feel like if you have a view, you should have one model per view. But if you wanted to pass in like another model in there and then bind that to some other element within that view, you could do that. And then let me just show you the flow. This is from their docs. This is what the flow of it basically is. They have all kinds of hooks that you can also plug into. So they have like an onset hook, which is when the value is set from the DOM, then that you can plug in there and you can intercept that, or you can do like when it's gotten from the model. So each way, whenever that value is modified, you can intercept those through these different callbacks. So like I showed the observe callback, and you see they also have an onGet callback where it's like if you want to do some formatting, and the onSet would be like if that's the value that's going to get set in the model itself. And then there's things like the get value. If you want to change like where from the DOM it retrieves that value. So normally it would just retrieve it from, you know, like the jQuery.value. And then you can also override the update and stuff. And they have this cool diagram that just, when you're confused about it all because of this binding, it's like back and forth. Like you could see like a model attribute changes, this is what's fired, and these are the things that you want to like intercept here. And then this is like the other way around. When the user inputs stuff, it calls update model, get value, and onset. So it's a pretty simple plugin, but it's kind of handy if you've been doing Backbone stuff. You know, there was another one that was called like Model Binder. There was one called Model Binding, and this was the one that I found that wasn't like abandoned. So it looks pretty well maintained. One of them was like abandoned. It said, "Warning: do not use this." So. Anyways, that's all. It's a really simple plugin. Is there any questions or?
Can you use this like Marionette?
Yeah, I mean, because it's something that's in the view, you don't really have to deal with. It doesn't touch Marionette, but you can use it like in a child view or whatever, in an item view or right. So, any other questions? You guys are all going to use this tomorrow, hopefully. Okay. Thanks.